Okie dokie, let's make a Vegemite shaped cake. So first up, I needed to get my cake the correct size. So I used a cookie cutter and I just cut these little round chocolate discs out of a slab of mud cake. Now, for those of you who don't know what Vegemite is, it is like a very popular spread here in Australia. It's sort of salty and yeasty. It sounds really gross, but it's really delicious if you know how to eat it properly. And it comes in different size jars. I'm doing one of the larger jars that it comes in. I stacked my cake with a chocolate ganache and then I covered the entire thing in chocolate ganache as well. Chocolate ganache sort of looks a little bit like Vegemite too, so it works really well. Now, the reason I use chocolate ganache as a coating is because it goes really well with fondant, and that is what I'm going to ice my cake in. It sort of acts as like a base for your fondant to sit on, and it just makes everything look really, really smooth, and it also adds a lot of flavour. Once I had all of the ganache on, I smoothed it all back with my scraper. Basically, I was just aiming to get as smooth a finish as what I possibly could. And I also had the jar of Vegemite in front of me as well. So I was trying to make sure that my cake was going to be very similar, if not exactly the same size. Now, once I was done with smoothing my ganache, I cut out a section of the ganache down the bottom of my cake. This is actually the Vegemite jar upside down. So that's all done and I can put that aside. Now it's time to make the lid. I decided just to do it separately because I just thought it would be a lot easier. So I got another little disc of chocolate mud, covered it in chocolate ganache, basically did all the same steps as I did with the other part of the cake. Once it was all smooth, it was all ready to go and I popped that aside in the fridge. Now it's time for the fun bit, the decorating. I grabbed a piece of very, very dark brown, almost black fondant, rolled it out on a bench with some icing sugar dusted on it. And then I rolled it out to a couple of mil thick and grabbed my upside down Vegemite jar cake and popped the fondant on top. This bit you got to work pretty quick because fondant does start to set quite fast. So I just move my way around the cake, sort of pushing the fondant down, making sure no air bubbles are getting trapped in there. Then once I'd pushed it all down, it was time to cut the excess away. So I chopped all that off. I did a quick check to see how I was going for size and it was looking pretty good. I then grabbed a fondant smoother and just smoothed the edges down. I also cut away that little bit of excess as well. And then it was ready to turn over. I was really excited about this part because it's when you finally start to see it coming together. The little details, it's definitely my favourite part of decorating a cake like this. Once you sort of start getting past that prep stage and into the finer details, it starts to become much more enjoyable and feel a little bit more like artwork, I guess. So now that my main part of the Vegemite jar was done, I had to move over to the lid component. So I rolled out some yellow fondant and popped it on that little piece of cake that I had prepared earlier. Next up, I rolled out a strip of yellow fondant, and this is going to be the outer part of my lid. I did this bit separately because I just found it a lot easier to put the details in this way while it was laying flat, as opposed to trying to do it while it's a part of the lid. So a Vegemite jar has like a lot of these little markings in it, so I added all of those in. And once I was all done with that, I popped it onto my lid cake part. Seriously, there are a lot of different components to a cake like this, and even though it might look like there's not a lot involved, it still took me probably most of the day to make this cake. And now we're up to the part where I get to pop my lid on and the edible image label. This label is printed onto edible paper using edible ink, and it's all edible. We actually have our own printer and we're able to do those images ourselves, which is awesome. Then it was time to cut it in half. This is actually a really good example of the perfect mud cake and how it looks inside. Just listen to our reactions.
Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. It looks so muddy. It looks so yum.
Well, that's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching if you got this far. Please like and comment and subscribe and all that good stuff because it really helps us out. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!